All right. So with last week's lectures, we covered the hermeneutic structure of our thinking, and specifically the role that this structure plays in both the formation of prejudices in the broad terms that we laid out in those lectures, um, and more generally, our moralizing, right? So now we're going to take a step away from philosophy proper and look at, uh, since we have this idea from last week of a descriptive structure for thinking, we're going to expand on that by looking at the evolutionary foundations of morality, of moral thinking, right? Um, and how this also plays into that hermeneutic, interpretive aspect of thinking. Uh, it should be noted that this section is as much a little framework on theoretical evolutionary psychology, moral psychology, from the basis of evolutionary biology as anything else. And that evolutionary biology is a combination theory. This means that it borrows from things like biology, genetics, psychology, ecology to some degree, and it mixes the information from them in order to make sense of things. So the basic assumption of biology is very, very important to evolutionary perspective of morality. And the most basic assumption of biology, the most critical one, is that organisms, biological beings, are driven by the desire to survive and propagate, right? To carry on the line, to continue living. What this does as a result, if we're using the evolutionary perspective, biology, as a basis for understanding morality in this regard, ethics as a whole, is it brings us back to egoism as a basis for morality. Right? And remember, we talked about ethical egoism way back in week 2. But we're not talking about ethical egoism in this case. The whole do what is within my best interest, do what I want for me, right? That's ethical egoism. I'm the only one who matters. Instead, what we're talking about is psychological egoism. The idea that we are always motivated by self interest, even in cases of what appear to be altruism. So, this is more of a Hobbesian picture. We do things out of a desire for self preservation, and we do them because they confer some benefit to us. Right? They're to our benefit to do them. We should probably define altruism as well. For our sake, altruism is actions we do that confer a benefit onto another, not onto ourselves, right? Without providing any direct benefit to ourselves. So, altruism as a concept really only makes sense if we're talking about longitudinal benefits, right? Doesn't make sense. There's no benefit for me to hold the door open for you other than the perceived social value. Right? It's not like it directly helps me. And if it does so in a very, very minor and ephemeral way. So, in evolutionary terms, altruism, functionally, promotes the survival of our species or our own genetics. Right? The idea is I do nice things, I seem more appealing as a mate, sort of deal. So it's basic biology functioning at the psychological level. I'm doing it out of self-interest, even if that's not functioning on a level that I'm directly aware of in my own thoughts. So from a an evolutionary perspective. Ethics is a matter of altruism failure. Not altruism success, but altruism failure. Ethics only really comes about and questions and matters of ethics only come about when we fail to take the concerns or suffering of others as seriously as our own, when we become too absorbed in self interest.